What's one of the best kept secrets out there? Free and or subsidized mediation for your divorce. Save you thousands. From Mediate393, we have the founder and president, Hilary Linton. Good to have you here.
Hi, Val. Good morning.
Best kept secret, you say?
It is. Yeah, it's surprising how
Why do we not know about this?
I think it's just the way the program's structured. But that's why I'm here.
Who's paying for it?
The government funds this. So the government funds service providers across the province, so different service providers in each jurisdiction provide these mediation services through the courthouses primarily.
Brilliant. Yeah. All right, so let's talk about divorce. How much of it is happening these days?
The divorce rate stayed the same. Around 1/3 of all marriages will end in divorce. So,
and that you're saying that really hasn't changed?
Hasn't changed much, up and down a bit, but that's pretty much the standard rate.
All right. Well, typically, if we're not aware of your services, what would we be expecting to shell out for the whole thing?
Well, the truth is most people can't afford a lawyer anymore. If you look at the statistics, up to 80, even more, 80% of people who are in the court system now don't have a lawyer at all.
How much does a lawyer cost?
A Toronto Star story showed that it was about $60,000 to take a case through a 3-day trial. That was a civil case, but I think it would be about the same for family. People spend tens, and sometimes, if they have the money, they spend it all. Hundreds of thousands of dollars we see sometimes people spending on a legal case. Well, and then they come to us as mediators because they haven't got it settled yet.
But so they spend all that money first,
they spend all that money, and then they haven't really got anywhere. I mean, it's literally unaffordable for the vast majority of people. The people that come to us often have never spoken to a lawyer, don't have any legal advice at all.
Let's talk about mediation and what it is.
Yeah. So mediation is a discussion, really. A mediator is a neutral, a trained, qualified, insured, they should be, third party who meets with both people together, if they can sit together, in separate rooms if they can't, to help them agree, if they can, on whatever it is that they need to resolve.
It's a much nicer, more peaceful way to resolve your differences, isn't it? And to fairly divide up the assets than having two lawyers battle it out.
Yeah, that's the theory, and it's usually true. I mean, we have really great statistics. The people who use our services, and this is across the province, it's not just Mediate393, it's all the service providers find that people like this, they like it. They like it because it makes sense. It gives them a chance to talk about the things that are important to them. Right? It's not just what a judge is going to hear. It's not just what the law says is relevant, but it's actually what are the real issues between these two people, and how can they have a safe process in which they can discuss those issues and hopefully reach an agreement that they both think is fair.
And once you've reached that agreement, is it necessary to go to court at that point?
Sometimes people want to go to court just to get it turned into a court order. But oftentimes people just write it up in a separation agreement and they don't ever go to court.
Wow.
A lot of the people that we work with never go to court. So even though we operate out of the courts, we take cases whether people are in court or not.
What about if there's a domestic abuse situation or violence? How do you deal with that?
It's a good question because the research tells us that there's a very high likelihood of violence taking place at the time of separation. It can be a very, very dangerous time for people, and we see a lot of cases involving some form of abuse or domestic violence. Our mediators are very well trained and quite skilled at deciding whether a case is suitable. We have to make a decision whether we feel that the victim of violence can negotiate, whether they can be empowered, and whether they can safely negotiate. So we spend a lot of time working with victims of violence, but also people who are worried about being accused of violence, to help them figure out, can this be a safe process for me? Can this become a fair process? Is this the right process, or should these people be in court?
Tell me more about your clients. Who are they?
There's no profile. This program is subsidized. So I should say the program is free, completely free for anybody who's in court. So if you're in court to appear in front of a judge on a motion, you can get free mediation that day and settle it. For anybody else who's not in court, it's subsidized. The subsidy is quite significant. So we get people who have no income to people who earn $90,000. We have people who speak every language, who come from every culture, who come from every line of work, who aren't working. We work with people who are disabled.
So you pay, it's like a sliding scale in terms of what you would have to pay.
The fees are a sliding scale, and we also have the ability to waive them in cases of distress, and we will do that because our mandate is to help as many people as possible. This is a public service, and we have a very strong mandate to really work hard to help people.
Well, kids are always getting caught in the crosshairs when it comes to divorce. How do you handle situations where there's a custody debate or you're worried for the child's safety? What do you do?
Well, it's complicated. I mean, our mediators are, many of them are either social workers themselves or they're lawyers themselves, so they understand the law, they understand the social work dynamics, the family dynamics. They're pretty highly trained, highly qualified people. We all have an obligation to report if we feel a child's in need of protection. So we're quite skilled and experienced at working with everything from children's aid societies to the police where necessary, but also just a whole range of supportive services for people going through divorce. Luckily, that doesn't happen very often. We don't have to do that too often. But we do refer people a lot to all kinds of resources that are free or subsidized to help them.
Because you're there on their level, talking to them, and you catch these things. The kids are not falling through the cracks.
Yeah. No, I mean, our mediators are also trained to interview children. So we do a lot of very high-level child-inclusive mediation, it's called. We do a lot of very culturally fluent mediation. We have mediators who speak a whole range of languages, everything from Punjabi to Hindi to Bengali, to Urdu, to French, Spanish, Ukrainian. We really try hard to find out what people need from us, how can we help them, how can we design a negotiation process that's going to be an effective one for them.
You must have to be masters at controlling your own emotions because it must get so frustrating. People can be so stupid sometimes. How do you deal with those people?
I was a lawyer for many years, and as a lawyer, you fight for one person, and you only know one person's story. When you're a mediator, you hear both people's story, and you have such compassion for both of them. Even in these difficult, high-risk cases, even cases involving violence, it's impossible to not have compassion for everybody. And our mandate is to do our best for the children. So we don't judge anybody. And it's one of the greatest things about being a mediator is you don't have to form judgments about anybody. You simply have to hear everybody's story and think hard about what can I do that's going to be better for everybody than what they've got right now.
We've got 30 seconds. How do we find you so we can start the process?
The website's mediate393.ca. You can find a lot of information on that website. The Ministry of the Attorney General also has a website under Family Mediation that provides information about all the mediation service providers across the province.
It's brilliant. So glad you're there to help us when we need you. Mediate393.ca. Go there now, get all the details, and feel like somebody's on your side and will help you get the resolution you need. We're going to head back into the kitchen next, and we have a giveaway. Stick around. Thank you.